For USCFootball.com, Connor Morrissette and Chris Trevino are back on campus after USC Football's 11th spring practice of Camp 2025. Chris, we show up to the tunnel today. Players walk out, but before that, a bunch of kids from the Snoop League, who I think are on spring break, they were here to watch some of the players come out of the tunnel, and it was kind of a madhouse when we showed up. The biggest reception was for Jacoby Lane. Those kids love Jacoby Lane.
The kids love Jacoby Lane. Put that on a shirt, sell it, print it, whatever. But yeah, they were very excited for Jacoby Lane. They were excited for anybody that came out, really, walk-ons, but Jacoby Lane was a different level. Half of them ran down the tunnel just to get around him and, didn't start chanting his name, but they all wanted high fives. So yeah, Jacoby Lane, big fan, big hit with the kids.
Certainly a big hit. Another guy who had a little funny interaction, Jamal Jarrett, the big man, 340 pounds, over 6 feet tall. He's getting low and giving everyone high fives. That was really fun just to see the players interact with some of these kids. Another piece of good news, Chris. Everyone who we expected to be out there, the non-injured guys and the guys who haven't entered the portal, everyone else, the rest of the rest, the most important players for USC, they were all out there today, all accounted for. Everyone came out to practice. Another good sign here is the transfer portal continues here for about another week.
All the scholarship players, yes. The only new addition has been the walk-on kicker, Tyler Robles, who officially entered earlier this morning. But as far as that, yeah, only 4 have entered, one being a non-scholarship player. So USC looking pretty good right now. Remember, the portal will close next Friday, so a little bit of time to go, though.
And then the last thing before we get into practice observations and some of our reaction from the comments after practice, another big day of recruits here. It just seems like that's every day. It's more of the same. Ryder Lyons was the surprise visitor today. He was here with his younger brother. They were here to watch their brother, Walker, play tight end. The parents were here. They gave Lincoln Riley a big hug after practice. Tom was back at USC. A bunch of really talented kids continue to come to USC. It's a big reason why they have the number 1 class in the country right now.
Deshaun Rideau, Brandon Lockhart, those guys better start getting their mail delivered here because those guys are here a lot. I count at least 5 times for Brandon Lockhart and at least 4 times for Deshaun Rideau. They are getting their commits back on campus multiple times, and that's just kind of echoing what Chad Bowden said earlier in his tenure here, is that when they get committed, that's when they really start committing them once again. So yeah, they're putting the love into even their committed guys already. So yeah, they're trying to keep that class together, and I think they will.
Okay, let's get into some practice observations. Last time on Tuesday, I just threw a lot at you. I'm going to do that again. So, Makai Lemon is back again, and that wasn't exactly a surprise. Hold on, I'm reading the wrong notes.
Busy day.
Okay,
Lots going on.
Makai Lemon was back on Tuesday. He's still back out there today. Back to the normal notes. So the usual group of returners were out there. Alex Graham was returning kicks. DJ Jordan was out there. The big group that we've saw at the beginning of camp was back, so that was great to see. Deshaun Rideau, who Chris mentioned, the visitor, the running back from Oaks Christian, the commit, he still gets really into the mix here with Anthony Jones and some of his future teammates. He's not afraid to get right up close and personal at some of the drills. It kind of seems like him and Brandon Lockhart are already on the team a little bit. They get so close. Lockhart was doing push-ups the other day with some of his future teammates. That was cool to see. For the first time, Chris, that I can remember, during the quarterback warm-up drills where they throw to some of the receivers, Jade Mayava and Hassan Longstreet were together, just the 2 of them, and then every other quarterback was on the other side. All the QBs, the walk-on QBs, Sam Heward, that stood out to me. That leads me to believe that Hassan Longstreet is continuing to progress and might end up being that backup quarterback. DJ Jordan took the 3rd rep in a wide receiver drill. We always care so much about the rep hierarchy. He was, of course, behind Jacoby Lane and Makai Lemon. Jakeem Stewart and Devin Tompkins were at the edge today in some of the warm-ups we were able to see. The defensive line is going to move all over the place. Guys who project to be on the interior, we could see them on the edge. I do think that's going to be a huge part of what Danton Lynn does this season. And then at the end of practice, we saw Jaden Mayava running some sprints with some of the USC offensive line. And like I said, Lincoln Riley met with the Lions family, gave him some hugs. That recruitment took a step in the right direction today, I would say. Another day of me throwing a lot at you, Chris. Anything you want to respond to there?
I think the quarterback thing was kind of the most interesting thing. Just an observation purely at that. And yeah, usually it has been Hassan and Sam Heward on one side with a couple of walk-ons, and then Maeva on the other side with some walk-ons as well. But today it was very clearly Hassan and Jaden on one side with Sam Heward and the other 3 walk-ons on the other side. So Jaden and Hassan could go throw for throw. And yeah, that was really interesting. What does it mean? I don't know, but if I had to guess, maybe, yeah, you're right. Hassan Longstreet continuing to climb, continuing to progress, and really maybe that front runner for that backup job at the moment. And it's going to be a fun competition, as he pushes Jaden. And obviously, I hope no one's running with this instant analysis saying Hassan Longstreet's going to be the starter. No, but I just think Hassan Longstreet is having a really strong spring camp. I think that's what we can kind of take away from this.
Sam Heward is, of course, in that competition as well, the third scholarship quarterback. Again, can't say anything definitively, but just based on the viewing period, it did look like it was Maava and then Longstreet with Heward behind them. But again, we don't see who goes out with the second team, so just trying to give you as much information as you can and make your own conclusions, I guess. But our conclusions are it looks like Longstreet's leading. You can take those with a grain of salt, I guess, if you'd like. After practice, we heard from Lincoln Riley, Keyshawn Silver, Jaden Walker, Braylon Shelby, DJ Harvey, Braylon Conley, a bunch of defensive players today. I'll start with Lincoln Riley. I asked him about Jaden Walker, and he said Jaden, he 100% feels like he's going to play a role on this defense, and he seemed really excited about Jaden Walker. Chris, you had the chance to talk to Jaden Walker. I think the story today was Jaden Walker, and he's going to have a role, the second-year linebacker out of Michigan. He seems to be turning some heads here and is doing a nice job.
Yeah, he's a name that's been popping up a lot in spring camp because of how his body's changed. He was an edge rusher coming in from high school, officially the last recruit USC signed in the 2024 class. Danton Lynn, one of the first guys, he actually reached out and recruited when he first got here, so that's how you know how much they liked him. And then he's been playing linebacker, obviously been transitioning to middle linebacker, came in with kind of a shoulder injury, so couldn't hit the ground running, so that took some time. He said that was a hard process after, talking with him. And yeah, he's just really excited for this season, and it feels like he's having a really strong spring. Loves Rob Ryan, loves learning the defense and kind of really getting his hands on it. Obviously, he's a guy who was injured last year, but he's hoping to have a big impact this season. Seems like he's focusing on one linebacker position, the Mike linebacker, and I think that fits him. He is such a violent player, and I asked him about that, and he says, yeah, I'm kind of a hothead. So if you have a hothead linebacker, you're going to get a violent linebacker. So I think that's a good pairing with Rob Ryan, too, who is an intense guy, and Jaden Walker said he kind of brings that out of them even more so. So, yeah, they got a feisty group there in the linebacker room, and I think Jaden Walker is going to play a role this season. I don't know quite what it's going to be because they got some talented guys, with Desmond Stevens and Eric Gentry, but I think he's going to find a role on defense, be a guy in the rotation, and maybe even a special teams player. I think he could be an ace in that position as well.
USC has been looking around in the portal at a linebacker. Gary Bryant from South Dakota is supposed to visit this weekend. I think he's going to get in on Friday. They need some help there at linebacker too, and just because they take a linebacker from the portal doesn't mean Jaden Walker won't play. I do think they want, in an ideal world, to play more linebackers. We know Eric Gentry's injury history. Look at the cornerback room last season. Danton Lynn felt like he had 4 solid cornerbacks, so there were games where there would be a lot of rotation there. I think Desmond Stevens is going to play a lot. Eric Gentry, of course, will play a lot too. And then maybe it's a portal linebacker, maybe it's Jaden Walker after that. But I could see 4 guys playing pretty consistently in the defense this year, because to be a really good team, you kind of need to have that competitive depth.
Yeah, you need depth across the board, and you're right. There is some depth issues with linebackers, so I think they need to at least pull one. But if Jaden Walker, you get something out of him, he steps up, he's ready to hit the field, that's great for that linebacker room. In addition to Anthony Beavers, you'll have 2 freshmen coming in. But if you can get something out of Jaden Walker with Anthony Beavers, maybe a transfer guy, I think you're ready to roll throughout the season. And, it's a physical position, people get hurt, but if you're in that position with those guys, I think you're going to be okay.
Lincoln Riley said Anthony Lucas is progressing well from an injury, won't participate this spring, but they're hopeful he'll be full go ahead of fall camp, a really big season for him upcoming. He also talked about Keyshawn Silver, how he's rehabbing well, and he felt like Keyshawn Silver, it stood out why they've recruited him when they've been working with him. And we got to hear from Keyshawn Silver, like I said earlier. He talked about how when he was in the portal, he did have a lot of interest. Understandably, he was our number 1 ranked defensive lineman, but the relationship with Eric Henderson has stood out the most to him, and that's a big reason why he's at USC. Stop me if you've heard that one before. Eric Henderson has done such a great job rebuilding that defensive line. He deserves a lot of credit for that. Sean New has done a nice job too, but the winning quotient, the best part of his recruitment came down to Eric Henderson, and that's why Jakeem Stort's here too. USC fans, I think, write a thank you note to Eric Henderson. That's my recommendation.
I think the big thing also with Keyshawn Silver is that we saw him in individual drills as well today. So he is obviously progressing, getting to do more. But Lincoln Riley did say he is not going to be full go. Obviously, they're here at the end of spring camp, so no need to make him full go. He is obviously a veteran. Yes, he's learning the defense, but you don't need to rush him back. It does not matter. this is the time where you can play some of those younger guys, get those reps in. But it was a great sign to see him out there doing individual drills, even though he is not full go for the rest of camp.
And then how about Lincoln Riley's comments on Jamal Jarrett? He said he's been staying in shape so well that they're going to name a Stairmaster after him. That made the group chuckle. That was a concern of the Georgia coaching staffs about Jarrett. Can he stay in shape? He would flash, and he just wouldn't be able to stay out on the field for long periods of time. Kirby Smart wrote, or a writer wrote that Kirby Smart said Jarrett, like, that was the big issue with him. He just was not in good enough shape that the staff didn't feel like they could trust him. And here at USC, it seems like he's progressing really well, and people seem to be very excited about him. And Riley mentioned, too, how when they were recruiting Jarrett, it wasn't really a recruitment. It was more of like, it's either this next stop for you is going to be it. So, like, are you ready to come in and do what you need to do? And it seems like he has. And he's a really good dude. Talking with him for the House of Victory shows that Ryan and I do, he just seems like a really good guy, a guy that's easy to root for, could be a fan favorite. It seems like Jamal Jarrett's trending in the right direction.
Yeah, it seems like a guy who's really taking to LA and liking the team, as you mentioned, having fun with those kids getting down there. So he's having fun right now, second opportunity, leaving Georgia to USC, finding a second chance, if you will. But is a guy we talked about that you need to see him develop, because yes, he has a lot of potential, massive body, but he's got to reach that potential. He's got to stay in the weight room. He's got to keep his weight down. But I think it's a great pairing for Eric Henderson, a guy with that much NFL experience. Jamal Jarrett is an NFL body. You know who knows what it takes to get to the NFL? Eric Henderson. He's coached literal guys like him. So that's the best pairing you could ask for. I'm not saying wasn't getting that coaching at Georgia, but I'm saying I think this is a really good pairing for USC, and I think it could be super beneficial. If he's going to be part of the rotation, Keyshawn Silver, probably your main guy. But down the line, he could be your starter for the next couple of years moving forward. So this is going to be a critical year for him. Probably get the most career snaps that he's ever had. If that happens, I think that's a great sign for his future and, USC's 2025 defense.
It is a big year for him. It's kind of a prove-it year, even though he's in a first year at USC. If you can't play a whole lot in your third year of college, then maybe something is wrong there. But, hey, we'll see. It seems like he's doing everything right. Any final thoughts from you, Chris?
Not really. Kind of a chilly day. Want to go back and write, man.
Yes.
Got to go back and write.
I want to do that too. He's Chris Trevino. I'm Connor Morrissette. This has been Instant Analysis. We'll be back Tuesday. One more week of spring camp, so 2 more instants after this. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you then.